Michael, fabulous job on the film. Amazing, amazing job. What drew you to the role? What drew you to this idea? Because like these characters are very dark, but this is a coming of age story at its core.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I love the script. I thought it was beautifully written, and I liked all the symbolism with the hands and the touching and all that kind of stuff. But I suppose primarily it's always really interesting to have a character who's in conflict with himself and with the world around him. And this guy very much is that, you know, he's the guy, you know, I think this movie is really about secrets and the secrets of the past and trying to bury the past. And of course, the lake is hugely symbolic in all of that. But, you know, Charlie and Anson, they have their secrets to keep. We have our secrets to keep. And it's about, you know, the floodgates opening during the course of this movie, really.
Now, you're working with first-time feature director here, Phil Sharon. Can you talk to me about the collaboration process with him and shaping some of the characters, shaping your character specifically in this film, or helping you shape the character?
Yeah, sure. Well, I hadn't met Phil before, and they offered me the role, and we had a quick Skype, and I'd seen one short that he'd done before, and I really admired it, and I loved the relationships that he had, and there was a delicacy and an intimacy that, you know, he knew what to cover, he knew what to shoot. And then we just had a chat, and you know, we didn't do a great deal of talking really. We were on the similar page really from the get-go, and then when we got to set, it literally by take two, you knew that he was a very self-assured director who was not intimidated by actors, as a lot of directors are. They don't quite know how to talk to actors or to get a better or different performance out of them. But he was extremely confident about that, which gave me confidence, gave the actors confidence, and as a result, it was a very anyway. I don't want to answer all the questions, so but it was great. No, it was great, and he was up for adding stuff, taking away, but then at the same time was very specific, and you have to respect that, which I did.
Now, one thing about the character of Ward, he can easily be a monster in this film, but you bring this sense of humanity and complexity to the character. Was that something that you know that you wanted to do right off the bat?
Yes. No, absolutely. Otherwise, you just end up given these like one-dimensional monsters, really.
Sure.
And you know, there's plenty of those written, and I just don't have any interest in doing that. And I think from his point of view, obviously bad people or people who've done things wrong or tried to bury things, they don't see themselves that way. And I think, you know, there is a genuine love of his daughter, and atrocious as the acts that happened were, and everything, we can compartmentalize things in our brains, you know. And he's lonely, and there's a possible romantic dalliance with Charlie's character, and she seems up for that too. So who knows? But I think, yeah, the more complex, the more vulnerable he is, the better. Phil actually had a very good point. He just said, and it was quite far into the shoot, and he said, we don't know what happened to the wife, but I get the feeling that he was abused by his wife.
Oh.
He was like, she was a very, maybe just physically or something like that he was a weak, repressed man. But, you know, which he is, but then the anger and the volatility is so suppressed that when it comes out, it's lethal.
One thing I also love watching is your chemistry in the scene with Emma McKay, her character. What's her character's name? I have it right here, Holly.
Holly, yeah.
She's amazing in this, and you guys have great. It's all your guys' scenes are very intense. Can you talk to me about what Emma brought to the role of Holly that you weren't expecting?
Well, I knew very little about her. I'd seen a few episodes of Sex Education, and I mean, she's done so little, but you know, she was absolutely gorgeous, lovely, beautiful, and nailed the Irish accent, which is not an easy accent to do. And you know, with a lot of like the four of us, it was a low budget movie. We mainly filmed in this pretty bleak, damp house, which was awful. And the rest of the time, there was one trailer that we all kind of huddled in together, and we all got on incredibly well, and it was really nice, and it was a very creative, fun thing. So we didn't do a lot of talking, we just did it. you know, and a lot of the time it just happens like that. And they know what they're doing. I knew what I was doing, or thought I did, and
You
that's how it
definitely
is.
did.
But as I say, everybody was of a similar mind. There was no, you know, drama queens. There were no tantrums. It was just about the work and getting on and doing it. So she was a joy. Yeah, she was a joy to work with.
One thing I loved about this film too is that it's really a character study about these four people, kind of what you mentioned earlier on. It almost feels like a play a little bit, well, especially following these four people that are in essence really lonely and and like you kind of said too, there's a lot lying underneath the surface of the Winter Lake. Can you talk to me about what attracted you to the writing? Because the writing in this, like I said, it's just like peeling the layers back of each character, and there's so much internalization going on with all of them, and the writing's brilliant in this film.
Yeah. No, there is, and there's a lot of symbolism. Unfortunately, a lot of stuff didn't make the cut. A
Really?
lot of really beautiful things. Yeah, it's quite a strange edit. I don't know who. I know it's not Phil's fault, but there were lots of very tiny, and it created a lot more tension in it of this need for violence. Something could be happening, and then it's all calm and stuff like that. So there was a lot of that. In it. Sorry, what was your question again? Sorry.
No, just about the writing, about how because the writing, especially writing characters, those four characters that are just so layered, just the complexity of the writing was all there. And again, a coming of age story that has this dark edge to it. I was just curious
Yeah.
about what attracted
Well,
you.
I suppose, look, there's a very, you know, the Irish psyche, repression is a huge, huge thing, and the inability to honestly say your feelings and what you're thinking about. It's totally opposite the American way.
Sure.
Totally opposite. You know what I mean? It's that's probably why we all drink so much. But there is that dark repression, and I like that inability to try and express stuff, but hard. And then, you know, slowly as it goes along, and he does open up about his daughter and his fear of the boys and getting hold of her and all that kind of stuff. But that's his own paranoia and stuff like that. So, but I just thought the pacing of the script was beautiful, and the writing of the character was really interesting, and how the relationships developed, and then or didn't, you know, went as far, but people didn't have the courage or the nerve, and they all just disappeared.
Can you talk to me about
2 years ago that we did it, you know, it's 2 years ago we made it.
Oh, was it really?
Yeah, that's COVID for you.
This is pre-COVID like era filmmaking.
Yeah.
Kind of crazy to think about now. Can you talk to me about the relationship your character has with Charlie Murphy's character Elaine?
Yeah, well, I think he likes her. I think he's wary of her initially. The son, he can't make him out at all. He's a very strange, reserved child, but he likes Charlie, and Charlie is so open. She is desperate for love or something in her life, you know, and he's aware of that, and he sees that, but he's terrified by it as well. So they're two very damaged people looking for something, but it never comes to fruition, and that's probably a good thing for her.
So much of a challenge for Anton's character Tom is internalized. A lot of it is internalized. A lot of the emotion he's going through is internalized. Can you talk to me about what Anton brought to the role of Tom that wasn't on the page?
God, he just brought this real strangeness. I mean, it would be probably quite extreme autism. There's an autism there. I felt that he did, and I just utterly believed him in his strange movements. It was a kind of fractured way of talking, delivering, never looking you directly in the eye. It's very hard to break it down because I've only seen it once, and I didn't have a huge amount to do with him. But he's so committed, Anson, and he's so much fun off screen. But I was really blown away by his. He's quite methody, actually, I thought, in his performance. But I loved it, and it really came to life much more so than on the page. You know?
Now, you guys, I hope I'm saying this right. I'm an American, so please forgive me. But you guys shot in Sligo, right?
Sligo, that's right.
Sligo, Ireland.
Yeah.
And I believe you guys shot in the winter. First of all, can you talk to me about shooting there in the winter? But secondly, that area for everything that it looked somewhat timeless. Like you're taking a step back in time when I'm seeing what I'm seeing on the screen. Can you talk to me about just shooting in that area and how the area helped kind of informed everybody's performance?
Yeah, well, Sligo is on the border town. It's not in the north. It's in the Republic of Ireland. And I'd never really been there before, and it's incredibly beautiful. I mean, there are ruins there and burial grounds that precede the pyramids, which is extraordinary, old Druid burial sites and stuff like that. And there's a wildness to that place, and there's a wildness to the people. I mean, they're wonderful and warm, but there's a crazy feral wildness about those people as well. And I had a guy who was driving me around, and I mean, he was nuts. He just said, "Follow the dotted line, Michael. Isn't that it? Follow the dotted line, and that's how you do it." Do you know what I mean? And I was going, "But you're going really fast on these bendy roads." And he just, sure, it bends less when you drive in the middle of the road, you know." Which is, so he was fantastic, but a slightly crazy but incredibly warm, lovely thing. And I think that brought a huge, yeah, it definitely did, definitely. And we shot in March, so almost exactly 2 years ago.
Wow.
We shot this movie. So the weather was nice, but it was bleak and cold. But you don't mind if the weather's good, and the work was intense, and then you went home to your house and slept. But it was good. It was very intense 5 weeks, and I'm so glad it's coming out now finally.
Yeah, I mean, it's a brilliant film. Like it really keeps you. Like I said, I love the characters and how they progress in this film because everything is lying underneath. Speaking of which, a lot of this film is about what lies underneath the surface. What are you hoping audiences experiences with The Winter Lake?
But I hope they're hooked on the story and the characters, really, like anything, and they stay with us. And I think it's beautifully shot. And I really hope. Yeah, I just hope they follow it to the end, and they market it right and they push it right. And I mean, obviously, it's a tough time for independent film and in the current climate, and it's such a shame it's not getting a cinema release. But I just hope it gets a decent push on whatever platform it ends up coming out on.
I'm really, it really took me away with what you did with that character because, like I said, it really could have been a monster, and I just there's so much complexity there, even all the way till the end. Amazing job on your performance, Michael. I appreciate.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you very much. I love doing it. It's food and drink to me every day to do it. And as I said to Phil, I spoke to him the other day, and I just said, look, I love going to work every day on this film because there was always something, and then you could take some things to extremes, and you just say, bring it back, give it more. So there was complexity, and yeah, he was a grizzly, hairy old man, and I wasn't playing some evil lord or some evil scientist, but I've done quite a bit. So yeah, the complexity of the guy, and I think it's the more interesting it is for the actor to play, I think the more interesting it is for the audience to watch.
Yeah, every time that you're on the screen, I feel like there's a new facet of your character that I'm just getting a breadcrumb to reveal. And it obviously, I don't want to give anything away, but that comes to crescendo when we get towards that third act of the film. And believe me, I mean, I was like, wow, it really took me by surprise, and I was there all the way through. So
oh, good.
Yeah, amazing job.
The lake actually was cut down. That took a whole night to do, and that was, I think, physically the toughest thing I've ever done because it was a man-made lake. Yeah, they filled this ground, but underneath the mud was thick glutinous mud, and it was about a foot deep. So when your feet went in, you couldn't pull them out.
Oh wow!
And to struggle and do that for a long time was exhausting. And they actually cut it down quite a bit because it went on for quite a while, and it was brutal, but it worked. It worked.
It absolutely worked, and it shows on screen. And an amazing job. Again, I hope everybody sees this film because this is it's such a psychological character study, but thriller. I mean, there's a lot of elements there that just work. But you did a great job. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.